We are going to do part 2 and we are going to build our flaps. And if you got a kit, grab your kit and let's get started. Before we build our flaps on these intersections here of our folio, we are going to mat them again with some decorative cardstock. So we're just going to take the 3 pieces that I've selected and cut them down. We are going to cut them down to 11 by 7, but we want to do a little smaller than that, so it does have kind of a matted look to it. So we're going to go a little smaller than 11 inches. We'll go to that mark right before the 11 inches. We're looking at about 7 5/8, I would say. That looks good. Let's see, we're going to do 7 3/4, and then again just a little shorter than 11 inches. These papers that I'm using, these were included in the kit, so if you did get a kit, you should be able to find these papers and you can use these, or you could use others that you prefer. So again, just a little shorter than the 11 inches. Just a sliver shorter, and then we are going to do about 7 5/8. And that looks good. Okay, we do not want to adhere these down because this is where our flaps come in, and we are going to place the hinge of our flaps behind these decorative pieces of cardstock. So do not glue them down yet. The first thing that I'm going to do is have us just kind of finish these little sections here and make them look nicer, and I'm going to use the washi tape again. So I'm just going to place that like so, and then trim it. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and we're going to go along that edge, making sure that washi is sitting in there nice and snug. I'm going to do that for that other section as well. And then again, we'll probably have to glue this down just to have it hold in place. I'm going to a little dab of glue there, and then I tore this, so put some glue there just to kind of prevent it from tearing more. Alright, and we still have nice movement and it looks more decorative. We're going to do the other side, same thing. And again, if you did not get a kit, I think I do have more of this in stock, so hopefully I'll get a chance to get this listed, and if you're wanting to purchase some of this, I can ship some of this off to you. I don't have very many left because I put a lot of them in the kits. Okay, I think that looks great. Okay, so for these flap sections right here, I'm going to use the black cardstock and then we'll mat with some of the digital collection designs as you see here. Now for these sections right here, I'm going to do something different. In your kit, I did not include enough black cardstock. You receive 10 pieces, and by the time we do the flaps, you will have used all 10 pieces. So what I'm going to do is you could use any solid colored cardstock. You could use the decorative cardstock that came in your kit. You can use whatever you like. I'm going to take some of my just blank white cardstock, take some of my artistic skills, put them to use, maybe do a sketch, something fun, and you can do whatever you like. But that is what I'm going to do here. So if you have some just plain white cardstock, That's what I'm going to use, but again, you can substitute it with papers that you got in your kit. You could use black cardstock if you have additional black cardstock and do that and put photos here. I'm going to leave it to your imagination. So I'm going to go ahead and take 8 sheets of my paper, and again, I'm going to cut those down to the 7 1/4 inches width. And then 10 3/4 inches in height. So we'll do that 8 times. And again, just use whatever you want on this section, because maybe you want to put photos there, maybe you don't even want to try to attempt to do any sort of mixed media art with me. I'm going to leave it up to you and let you decide. It'd be just as fun to put photos there, and I will probably do that too. I am going to make some room for some photos because I'm going to have my daughter, I'm going to force her to take some pictures. She's actually good about taking pictures. It's me. I'm the one who's usually bad about having photos done, but we're going to take some fun photos as we're getting our coffee and put those inside of here. Alright, so I have my 8 cuts that I did at 7 1/4 inches in width and 10 3/4 inches in height. And then with these flaps here, we're going to do 4 cuts. And that is going to be with the black cardstock. That's what I'm using. You should have 4 left in what came with your kit. And if you're just following along, grab whatever you might have. Preferably, I would think something a solid cardstock, because you're not going to see this. We're going to mat it with some of the digital designs. So it really, whatever you want to show as your border is fine as far as what color you choose. Okay, so we're doing 5 1/2 inches in width by 9 inches in height. And we'll do that 4 times. And 9 inches height, 5 1/2 inches width, and one last time, 9, 5 1/2 inches in width. Okay, so now we have our 4 pieces, which are going to be our flaps. Then we have the bands. The bands, I'm just going to use the scrap pieces that I have. So let's see what we got here. We need our bands to be 2 inches in height. And are these 2 inches by any chance? They are. So I'm going to take these scrap pieces that I have and I'm going to attach them. So just take a little strip of glue there. And we'll attach that. Let these dry. We will be matting those, so again, you will not see, where we glued this. It will look nice. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to score those 8 cuts that we did at 7 1/4 inches width by the 10 3/4 inches in height. We're going to score it 1 inch from the left side with the 7 1/4 inch at the top. So we're just going to go down 1 inch. And we're going to do this for all of those pages. Okay, and while we have our scoreboard out, we're going to do those black pieces as well. And so these, we are going to score from the top. So you'll have that 9-inch side facing up, and you're going to score 1 inch down. And you'll do that for all 4 pieces. Now we can start to assemble everything. And this is the part that gets fun, because this is where we start getting our flaps. And once we get those done, we can start decorating. And to me, that's the fun part. I love that part. Okay, so we have our white pieces that we need to do first. So we're going to fold everything at the score line. I'm going to do it both ways. And you'll do that for all 8 pieces. Okay, and then you're going to do the same for the black pieces. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you go backwards and forwards with it. So we'll start with the right section here, with this out of the way, and you're going to take one piece and you'll have it so your scored section is on the right side, and then you'll have one so it's on the left. So you'll just flip your page and you'll have it opening like a book. Going to get my glue, and we're going to glue this section. Make sure you get those edges really good. And we're going to go out just about like that. So you want to center it from top to bottom, and then we have about 1/8 of an inch from where our fold is here. Just make sure everything is nice and straight. Again, coming out about 1/8 of an inch, center it from top to bottom, kind of line it up with this page here. Okay, and we're going to do this again, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're just going to set it on top of this first one that we glued down. So we're going to glue this section here. Okay, so when we place this one down, we want to make sure we do not go on this fold line. So we're going to go a little below that when we lay this one down. So we're going to go just a little bit below that fold. And again, I stress that because you want these to open and close. And this one, if you had it on the fold, this one would not close properly. So that's why you do not want to ever put anything over those folds, and it's why I repeat it over and over and over again, because I've done it. I've done it so many times. In fact, I just did it before. I just took it out of the camera. So, yes. There we have that side, and we're going to do the same on this side. Okay. And then again, we want to make sure that we're going just below that folded edge there. Go right below it. And now we have our little booklet here. Then we're going to do the top and the bottom flaps. So we'll have one going this way and one going this way. I try to use my glue pretty sparingly. Alright, so I have that all glued down. And I'm going to go right about 1/8 of an inch from the top. And then open it up and make sure that the glue is not sticking to anything that it should not be sticking to. Alright, and now we're going to do the bottom one. And again, we're going to center it and line it up. And just make sure it all lines up. That looks really good. And this is now all assembled. Our band is going to just wrap around. So I'm going to put this so this part goes in the back and you don't see it. And I'm going to take, and using my pencil, we are going to score right at each one of these marks. And I want to make sure I'm going on the outer edge of my flap, because you want your band to be wide enough that it slides through. Okay, so my score marks end up being 5 3/8. And then over here we have 11 inches and 1/4. Okay, and then I'm going to take and fold. So this goes around like so. And then you'll see the back is where we'll have our 2 unfinished edges there. But this should go nicely around our flap there, which it does. And you just want to double check before you adhere this down. I am going to take a sliver off this end, just because when I go to fold this, over, you can see it just kind of bends a little bit, so I'm going to take just a little sliver off the end. And now, yes, now it will lay nice and flat. Okay, and we'll do our other one. So again, we are at, on this one I have my measurements just a little different because I penciled it a little differently, but it looks like we are at just about the 6-inch mark, and so I'm going to go at 6 inches. And then over here, I'm going to go at 11 3/8 of an inch. But your measurements will probably be different depending upon where you pencil your marks. Okay, and this one, as you can see, I have to cut off quite a bit from this end here. So again, we're just going to eyeball it. There. And now it will fit inside of there. Okay. So now I have my 2 bands, and I'm going to go ahead and apply some glue on this edge here. I'm going to do it right there and right at the top here. Apply a little glue right on this edge here. And right at the top here. Okay, let those dry. I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to work on the right side, putting our pages in and our flaps, and then we can mat everything and then start decorating the fun part of it all. The part you've all probably been waiting for. So we're moving on to this section here. I have my pieces. And again, we're just going to apply a little bit of glue. Again, we're going to go out about 1/8 of an inch again. Just want to make sure we have that straight. probably a little too hard, and it did tear. And so what I'm going to do on these hinges up here to prevent that from happening in the future is we're going to use our washi. And yes, that is going to be our little band-aid that we are going to use to fix that. Go up above just a little bit here. And I'm going to use my scraper tool to kind of tuck that down just a little bit. And then I'm going to take that edge of my scraper and use it to kind of tear that washi right at that line there. I could have brought it all the way across too, is probably what I should have done. But that was one area that needed a little repair, and yes, washi is usually my go-to for doing repairs on hinges and things like that. Maybe this time I'll just go across the other way. I'm going to apply a little glue right up at that hinge there. Just go like so. And these are some of the things that you may not see others do, but I like to show this. I like to take the extra time to show these things because, again, it really makes a difference in how your album is going to hold up. My mom and I have done enough of these for a long time to know the problems that come after they've been handled quite a bit. And this just really makes a nice big difference. This should prevent tearing down the road, and they should hold up really nicely. And we'll be covering these sections, so it doesn't matter if you get, glue on some of the black areas. We will be covering all of that. Okay, so we're going to use this design for our front flap. And I have two that are similar, and you're going to want to use the one that is in the portrait orientation. The face is a little bigger. I can still use that vanilla right there. So I did 5.5 by, we're supposed to do 7 and 5/8. 7 and 5/8 is right there. Oh, it's perfect. So we can use this section later on. And we'll go ahead and we will attach this down. And I'm going to come right down to the bottom there. Center it between the left side and the right side. And I think that looks pretty good. All right, and for the bottom section here, I'm going to use this design. And again, it's the portrait orientation because there's one that is similar and it's going in the landscape. And we're going to use this coffee section here. That is my plan. I'm going to do a little less than 5.5 because I do want to have a little bit of a border. So we are going to go right about there. And then we can use this. I think I used this piece as a side pocket later on. And then we are at the 7 5/8. And we're going to want to make sure we go from this edge. And I just want to make sure I have it all lined up nicely there. I'm going to take my decollage scissors here, and I am going to shorten it just a little bit and give it a rough, kind of torn edge look. I'm going to do it on this one as well. I use these scissors a lot and they're starting to get a little dull. But they've held up for like over 10 years, so they've been good scissors. And I love these. These are one of my favorite scissors for creating a rough edge. I should get another pair. Now, let's see, does it close now? I think that did the trick. Yes, so that is how I fixed that. Because it was not closing right. This was too high and I didn't place this high enough. See, I have it higher up here and it's, you know, I didn't have it centered properly. So again, if you run into that problem like I did, just take your decollage scissors and that is how you can fix that. And I have to do the other side as well. Okay, and then later I'll probably distress the edges and just make them look all nice and coffee stained, and to do some mixed media stuff, and then save some space for pictures and things like that. But yeah, I love the way that is looking. And so let's move over to this side and get this side all nice and matted. Okay, for the flaps on the right side, I'm going to use these two designs. Again, these are from the digital collection. And I think I'm going to use this on the bottom. And so, again, we are going to do that cut at, I think it's going to be 7 5/8 because that's what it's been, and just a little less than 5.5 in the width. And I have to figure out which section I want. So I'm going to do the 7 5/8 first because I want to see where that hits on our design. And I think that's perfect. So we have this right here that we can use. I think I use this as a pocket. And so I try to use all my scrap pieces. And now we're going to do, I'm going to cut off this edge just a little bit because that's where my toner messed up and I don't like that yellow showing through. Try to lessen it a little bit. Okay, so now we have to do, let's see, 5.5. But again, I'm going to go just a little less than that. Well, let's see. I want to make sure I get coffee in there. I might take just a little more off this edge here. I need to get a new blade. I've been cutting so much cardstock. Let's see. Now let's try it. 5.5. Yeah, I think that's perfect. Maybe just a little less, right past there. All right. And then we just want to make sure that we center it on there. I'm going to go right up to that edge right there. And then for the top piece, I'm going to do something different than I did on the prototype. I think, can I get it in there? I think I can get that cappuccino on there. And I like the way that looks. Maybe 7 3/4. I'm going to go a little shorter because I want to use this piece later on. Alright, now I have to do 5.5, just a little less than 5.5, and we lose our C. Alright, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go right where the C is, and then we're going to flip it around, and we'll see where we're at here. Alright, we're losing a little edge of our cut, but I think that's okay. I think that looks good. And I'm going to bring it right there, so just a little black peeks through. And then we have our bands. And we need to decorate our bands. And so I had the packaging that you received from your kit. Now if you didn't get a kit, there's a couple things that you can do. On your packaging from the kit, you have a band around the paper bag. And I don't have these attached, but it's attached and you can use one as a decorative element for your band. Now, if you didn't get your kit, what you could do is you could use some paper similar to this, or what I was thinking is you could take, this is part of a lunch bag because a lot of people have these lunch bags lying around, and I just took and folded it, and I was thinking you could just take and go back and forth with it. It would take a little bit of effort. I have a crimper somewhere. I used my mom's when I did the kits because I was at her house. And I used to have one. I have not seen it around for quite some time. But my mom's the one who came up with the brilliant idea of crimping these. And I don't know if you have something else that would crimp it, but you could just, we need to cut this down to 2 inches too. I'm not doing this very good here. And you probably want to go a little smaller. This is something where you just sit in front of the TV and, you know, work away at this. It's, you know, it's not perfect, but I think that will work. I think it kind of has that look of a coffee sleeve. And then you could do the same thing for your other band as well. Now to decorate this up a little bit and make it look a little more distressed, I guess you could say, I'm going to use one of my coffee stained stencils. I have my coffee stained stencil. This is the Tim Holtz one. And then I also have this other one that I think I got off Temu or AliExpress, one of the two. And so I have Vintage Photo and Ground Espresso. I'm going to use a combination of these two. I'm going to start with the Ground Espresso. And we're just going to create these coffee marks on our little paper sack here. And we're just going to distress over our coffee sleeve. And so, yeah, I don't know if Vintage Photo would show up all that well, so I might stick with the ground espresso. And I might use this one. Just let's see. I have this one as well. I haven't used this one. Okay. These are so much better quality than the ones you get off of Temu and AliExpress. The ones by TCW, the Crafters Workshop. Alright, maybe just a few more things here and there. I like that. I really like that. Now, if you don't have a stencil, you could just, take some of your Distress Oxide and just make some marks with your brush, or just distress it up a little bit. There we go. I like the look of that. And then you can always do the edges too. So we can hit these edges. Alright, and we're just going to attach these on the back. This will give it some lift. There, that will give it a little lift. And so I'm going to go ahead and peel all this off and then attach it down. Hopefully it will give the appearance of a coffee sleeve. Wrap it around the back there. And see, it's got that lift to it. And now we can slide it through. There is our band for our flap. And then we can do the same on the other side. Now, I'd like to do some sort of fun element on top here. And let's see what we have for ephemera. And there's a few that I kind of like. There's this piece there. Or we could do this. I really like that. We could do the coffee cup, which I also kind of like that. I would want to be sure to back it with cardstock just to give it, again, so it's a little more durable. I kind of like the coffee mug, so I think I'm going to go with the coffee mug. I'm going to adhere this down and then just cut around it. And then we'll place it down on our black cardstock. There we go. I think that looks good. I like it. So I'm just going to, let's see, we'll put a little glue here just to hold this down in place. And we have our band all nice and decorated. For this side, I'm going to use what came in your kit. This was the packaging that went around the paper bag from your kit, and so just pull that off. You might have to, use some sort of scraper to get underneath to detach the glue, but I only did a little drop of glue to hold it in place, so it should detach from the paper bag, and then you can use it on your band. Now, for those who didn't get a kit, you could just repeat what we did over here with the paper bag and do that again. And I'm just going to apply glue on both ends here. Okay, and then this should slide right up there, like so. I did make it just a little tight. You might want to make yours a little looser when you do yours. I think it's just a little too snug, but maybe, you know, just kind of moving it up and down might kind of loosen it up a little bit. I wish I would have made it just a little less snug. That does kind of help, sliding it up and down. Okay, so what do we want to put there? I'm thinking I like this. And I'm going to, this time, lift that up. And we'll just place that right like so. Just kind of bend that down so you don't see the adhesive. Alright, so we have our bands done and we have our flaps all covered. You know what I just realized? I did this upside down. I have this going the wrong way. Mine is going the wrong way. It should be going like this. This is what I mean by make sure you have it going the right way. I flipped it upside down and I put everything the wrong way, which is an easy fix. I'm just going to have to take and redo the images and put my bands going the other way. So it's not completely a total loss, but I just noticed that. Oh my gosh. This is what happens when you do videos at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, I cannot believe I did that. I hope you guys did yours the right way. I didn't even think of it. I usually check. I haven't done that in a long time. I usually double check to make sure it's going the right way. But anyway, I mean, you could have it go, it's just kind of weird, you know, to have this like this. Have it swing out like this. I mean, I suppose you could. I don't like it. I like it this way. It's kind of a pain to have to reprint it and recut it, but it's an easy fix, and that's the main thing. And so if you happen to make an error like I just did, and you forget to double check and make sure your images and your album and all that's going the right way, which I should have said before I did this, this is how you would fix it. If anything, my flaps are going to be really durable. Alright, and then we'll just attach these to this page like so. And we got our last piece here, and it will be all fixed. There we go. And then we can put our bands back on. And so that wasn't too bad. There we go. I got it all fixed. Showed you all my mistakes, how to fix them. showed how you reinforced these hinges with the washi, and it's just a nice durable album. And so I'm going to probably still add some more to these hinges, again to just add more durability, and then once we get this middle section done, that will add more to our album as well. But it's coming along quite nicely, even with all of the mistakes. But it is nice to show you my mistakes, I think, because if you run across the same situation, you'll know how to fix it. So leave me a comment, let me know if you made some of the same mistakes, if you did what I did and actually put your images on upside down because you had your album upside down. Yeah, I hope you did not do that. I hope it went much easier for you than it did for me. Okay, so now that we have our bands on, I got everything fixed and corrected. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. We just need to put down those pieces, our matting pieces, in these sections. So let's go ahead. I might just cut this down a little bit from the 11 inches, maybe down to 10 and 5/8. Yeah. And I do, again, I want to make sure I'm not going to hit any of those folds. So I'm going to take another little sliver off. And we're at, it was at 7 and 5/8, and I'm going to go like 7 3/4. I think that's better. I just want to make sure that I'm not going across any of those folds. I don't even want to chance it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll attach this. And I'm going to use my tape gun again. It's just not... Ugh. I'm just going to leave it. Okay. I don't think we're on any of those folds, that's the main thing. But I did not center it on there very good. But I think, you know, with this being the back section and the plans that I have for this, you're really not going to see this all that much. So if it's a little imperfect like mine, it's no big deal. Although I do like things to be perfect, you know? Alright, then we have our smaller piece, and again we're going to have to definitely cut this down from the 11 inches a little bit and off from the sides as well. Because I don't want, you know, I really don't want it to interfere with my flaps. And it's really just to finish this back area. Again, you're not going to see this too much. And I might take just a little more on the side. So I am at looks like 6 3/8 of an inch. That looks good. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and adhere that down. And we'll line this up. Alright, and then we just have this section over here. And yeah, we'll have to cut it down a little more. So Just a sliver is it. Okay. And then I do need just a little more off that top section. So we are at 10 3/4. And that might be too short. No, I think that's good. All right, that works. So yeah, you might have to go and just kind of, you know, adjust your mat so they don't run into your flaps up here and they don't go over your folds where your papers are. That's very important. And just want to make sure. See, I still need to adjust that even more. I need a little more off that top. So we're just going to take another sliver off. And you might have to do this a few times. I think that looks good. All right, and we're going to attach this. All right, and we are good. All right. Yay. I was going to make this look super easy, right? That's what I said. All right, so we have the matting done and we have our flaps done. We have our bands so they move up and down really easy now. Everything is coming together. It's looking great. And so I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that you have learned some things from my mistakes, and I hope you didn't make the same mistakes that I made. I'll be back tomorrow with part 3, and we'll get these front covers done as well. And then on part 4, it's just going to be having fun decorating some of these pages. We'll do some collage envelopes. We'll maybe incorporate some of the past projects that I did into this folio, so it's going to be jam-packed. I'm hoping to, let's see, I think it'll be like part 4, part 5, right around there. That'll be the end of this, and then I'm going to start a new project tutorial, maybe do some shares, some things like that, but I do have a lot of videos in the works. If you wouldn't mind, if you like these projects and you're enjoying this, if you're enjoying the tutorials, please leave a comment. Let me know you want to see more tutorials. Just let me know, and then hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll be back tomorrow with part 3. Thank you so much for watching.